Today, the following Tom Aspinall hate is not being brought to you because there is a John Jones picture on my wall. The following Tom Aspinall hate is being brought to you because Waldo Cortes Acosta is the champion that we need and we all deserve. Or at least when it comes to taking eye pokes. All of this and more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. What's up, guys? We right back at it. We right back with it. It's your boy Matt, and we're here to go over some interesting things, if you will, that took place in the UFC over the weekend. They were back in the world famous Las Vegas Apex Arena, or that's how I like to refer to it, where, look, all right, let's be real. In the main event, look, I mean, Steven Garcia goes out there and defeats David Onama. It wasn't cool. It wasn't really that fun. It was cool for Steven Garcia. I didn't get to make a pre-show video for this particular card. Had I did, I was going to pick Steven Garcia to win. But David Onama didn't really do anything. He went out there. He ended up eventually getting knocked out. So that's what that is. Shout out to Steven Garcia. Steven Garcia had the worst call out on the mic after winning in his first main event, in which he called for a BMF title fight with Max Holloway. I think he forgot that Max Holloway now fights at 155 pounds and he fights at 145. So, boom, 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 boom. That was a L for Steven Garcia. But let's talk about what everyone really is here on a Monday to talk about as it pertains to the UFC. And it's the fact that in the co-main event, Waldo Cortes Acosta goes out there and defeats Ante Delija via knockout. But the key to this is, it was after an eye poke. It's at heavyweight. It's with Tom Aspinall's training partner, Ante Delija, who committed the foul. I don't even really know where to go from here. I don't even really know what to say, but let's attempt to unpack this. So first, let's go back to UFC 321, in which in the main event, Tom Aspinall facing Cyril Gane goes out there and in relatively short order in the first round, the fight is over because Cyril Gane does a double eye poke to both eyes of Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall takes some time and is just extremely frustrated, extremely angry, and says he cannot continue the fight. So, wham, bam, bam, they call it off. Now, let's fast forward to the middle of the week, maybe about Wednesday or Thursday of last week during the fight week, where Tom Aspinall's partner, now you got to understand, Tom Aspinall, one of his training partners, is another heavyweight by the name of Ante Delija. This man has had a tough time making it into the UFC and into the octagon due to visa issues, and you also had injuries. Things like that kept him out of the octagon for years when he already should have been in there. Tom Aspinall has actually gone on to say that if it meant Ante was going to get a world title shot for the heavyweight championship, he might be willing to walk away to allow his friend to fight for that championship. So that's the type of dude Tom Aspinall is. So shout out to Tom. He's a good dude. Woo buddy. But let's get into it. What's very interesting about this is a guy in Tom Aspinall's camp, right? And the whole world is looking at Tom Aspinall like, bro, you soft. You softer than tissue paper. You know what I'm saying? You softer than terry cloth. You know what I'm saying? If you know what that is. And that has been everyone's inclination about Tom Aspinall, right? And I know that all the Tom Aspinall fans feel like that it's either a John Jones fan or whatever type of fan that is hating on Tom. But the reality of it is, yeah, Tom was hurt. Yeah, Tom's eyes were messed up. But since then, in the week since that's happened, we've seen nothing but numerous fighters, with the exception of Michael Bisping and DC Daniel Cormier, who have both had eye poke issues. DC has delivered some devastating eye pokes, has also taken some. They've cost him fights. He's cost other people fights, as well as Michael Bisping is now one-eyed Mike because of a devastating eye injury from the likes of Vitor Belfort, and I believe that was TRT Vitor Belfort, which is a whole other animal, a whole other type of human being. Nevertheless, most of your other fighters, you know, we all know Chael Sonnen, Anthony Smith had some harsh words for him. But even the fighters that tried to be nice to him have expressed that they felt like, regardless of whatever was going on, everything's on the line. Tom should have went ahead and fought. So you've got the likes of Aljamain Sterling, which it's rich coming from him, as well as guys like Dustin Poirier, who generally don't really toe that line where you're like, man, Dustin's faking this injury or whatever. That's not the type of dude that he is. But a lot of fighters didn't necessarily side with Tom Aspinall quitting that fight, you know, due to two vicious eye pokes. With that being said, a week later, middle of the fight week last week, Wednesday or Thursday, Ante Delija is being questioned, right, during a pre-fight press conference or media day, in which he's asked about the eye pokes that his teammate sustained, in which he said, he goes on to say that he's had 32 to 33 fights and he's never poked anyone in the eye. He doesn't see how that even happens, and he believes that the repercussions for doing the thing should be severe. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Because what we saw on Saturday night was Ante Delija go out there, co-main event against Waldo Cortes Acosta. Bell sounds, both men are moving around. Waldo, you know, it's not really doing a ton. He had a few jabs to the body, a few leg kicks that he landed. Ante, who definitely looked to be quite a bit undersized, at least against Waldo. You know, I believe Ante Delija came in the 230s, while Waldo Cortes Acosta came in at like 260 something, you know what I'm saying? He was like almost right there at the limit. With that being said, we're watching Ante move around. He's moving around. And I do apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name. But what do you want from me? I live in Louisville, Kentucky. Nevertheless, he's moving around. He's trying to get his range, trying to get his distance. At one point, Waldo shoots for a takedown. Ante's takedown defense holds up. And at a point, he gets Waldo backed up against the side of the octagon, in which he unloads a flurry of strikes, right? During this flurry of strikes, early on in the flurry, he accidentally pokes Waldo right in the eye. If I'm not mistaken, it was Waldo's left eye, maybe. Nevertheless, pokes him in the eye. Referee does not catch that. The flurry of punches continues. Waldo instantly grabs at his eye, but the referee doesn't really grasp what's going on. I believe it was referee Mark Smith. So as that's all going on, Delija continues to fire off shots at Waldo. Waldo eventually almost slumps a little bit. He's not knocked out or anything of that matter, but there was way too many unanswered shots. Referee Mark Smith, in what we believed, called the fight, right? But once that happens, people at the side of the octagon begin to protest that there was an eye poke. So referee Mark Smith calls for the video to be reviewed, right? Meanwhile, he calls for the doctor to come in. Waldo is clearly, his eye is clearly injured. He's talking about his eye is injured. He's holding his eye. They eventually bring like some sort of a cloth in to put over his eye. Meanwhile, they're reviewing the footage. Now, on the other side of the octagon, Ante Delija believes that he has actually won the fight, which is what we all believed in that moment, including me, who I had a little bit of money on Delija winning this fight via a finish. You know what I'm saying? So I was definitely like, yeah, I got a little bit of change. You know what I'm saying? Not so fast. That is not what went down. Because while he is actually celebrating with his team, they begin to realize, they hear the little rumblings like, what's going on? You know, the commentators, they're not aware of what's going on. No one is aware that referee Mark Smith is about to restart this fight, because he has now been told via the replay that there was an eye poke before the flurry of shots, in which led to the ending of the fight. Now, you got to understand, after losing a world heavyweight title main event due to eye pokes, the UFC is kind of, you know, they kind of up against the wall when it comes to eye pokes. They paying attention. You know what I'm saying? So the UFC, more specifically, referee Mark Smith restarts the fight, and he restarts the fight, but before he can restart it, he's asking Waldo Acosta, can he continue? What is so quality about this is, and this is in no disrespect, but it just fits, you know, Waldo Cortes, you know, it's Waldo Cortes Acosta. Homie's from Cuba. And he's awesome, right? And so in his accent, in his Cuban accent, he begins to talk, and he's like, I can't even do it because it was just epic. And he was like, he poked me in the eye. I receive an eye poke. The eye 20 to 30%, 20 to 30%. I can see. And you're just like, wait a minute, what's going on? Is he actually going to continue? He keeps the cloth on his eye. The referee's asking him, can you continue? I believe the doctor might also still be in there. I'm just remembering this off the top of my head. I haven't rewatched this. Waldo Cortes Acosta is like, I know see, I maybe 30%, maybe 20%, but I know see, but I still fight, I still continue. And you're just like, this is epic. Because you're starting to put together in your mind what could actually happen, but you don't really know that it's about to happen. So the referee waves, they go ahead, they restart the fight. Now, Waldo is still, he was kind of holding his eye before the referee restarted the fight. It's clear that he can see, but his vision is compromised. He begins to move around. They begin to move, and wham! Instantly catches Ante Delija with a hard, heavy right hand, a hard shot. Knocks him out, finishes him right then in that first strike he threw. Knocks him out. Finishes him. He instantly drops to the floor, grabs his eye. He's like, oh. And Delija doesn't know what's going on. Everybody's reacting to him, but more importantly, the MMA world that is watching this, it was like a record scratch. It was like a record scratch in a movie where, you know, someone walks in. It's like somebody walks in the bar. They don't really belong in the bar, and you hear the record player go, "Err." It was the record scratched all across the world, and we all turned and looked at Tom Aspinall. And it could not have worked out any better, bro. And here's the thing. I'm not a Tom Aspinall fan, but I'm not a Tom Aspinall hater. But I gotta call out when something is just so great. It's just so poetic. It's just so outstanding. It must be called out. The fact that most fighters, outside of two fighters that almost lost an eye, and one of them did lose an eye, the fact that most fighters have called out Tom Aspinall for not continuing when the heavyweight championship was on the line. The fact that his biggest fans all of a sudden They want the perfect conditions for their fighters, no fouls, let's continue on. And yeah, we all want that, but we rarely get that in mixed martial arts. And usually if you're cheering for a guy like John Jones that nobody tends to like or agree with from a personal side, you're told to suck it up and just deal with it. And in that day and age, what was so great about this is that we're all kind of talking about, I tried to dance around it. I mean, supposedly, according to Tom Aspinall's father, Tom still can't see. The homie's still blind, so I feel for the homie. But I'm trying to dance around it in my video last week, like, feel bad for Tom. He did get fouled. But deep down, I'm kind of thinking, Tom, could you have really continued? Possibly, just maybe? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're kind of like, I don't know, maybe he could have went, I don't know, maybe it's the right thing, maybe it's the wrong thing to say. So most of us didn't say nothing. We just kind of wanted to ride the fence, but we thought it was a little sus by Tom to not continue. Then we start seeing all the fighters throughout the week come out, and they're kind of like, yeah, a little sus. Tom probably could have continued, but we still didn't really speak up. We still didn't really say nothing. We let Anthony Smith and Chael Sonnen take all the shots for all of us because we didn't really want to say nothing, but we was kind of thinking Tom probably could have continued. And then a week later, we received our answer when his own training partner, who criticized Cyril Gane for what happened, goes out there, eye pokes Waldo Cortes Acosta. And Waldo Cortes, I cannot see. My eye is 20-30%, but I will continue. Waldo Cortes Acosta goes out there and shows you when the chips are down, when everything is on the line. Keep in mind, homie's coming off of a loss. His first loss in the UFC. He coming off of a loss. The homie showed you that sometimes when your vision is compromised, you got to suck it up. You got to go back out there. You got to throw a devastating right hand and knock your opponent down, unalived, to the earth. To the earth with an F. Earth. To the earth. That's what you got to do. I hope Tom Aspinall, I'm sure he was watching with his good eye, and I hope he saw that, and I hope he understands this is what the MMA world was saying. This is what we was all talking about. This is what we was all reacting to when you called off that fight. This was it. This is what we all felt, and now you saw it in real time because the homie Waldo Cortes Acosta goes out there, gets a devastating eye poke, and lets you know his eye was only 30%, 20%. And he goes ahead and he continues and knocks out your homie that you're going to see slumped over in the gym tomorrow because he might still be having the effects of that devastating knockout. He might still be laying in the middle of the octagon. It could have been why Steve Garcia had to end that main event quickly because the body of Ante Delija laying over there slumped to the side of the octagon. You know what I'm saying? Bro, Tom Aspinall, take note, in all seriousness, if the vision hasn't returned to your eye, I hope it does. But this is what we was all talking about. You know what I'm saying? This is what we was all talking about. This is why you were getting criticized. And guess what? If you wonder, why am I still getting criticized? Why is the MMA socials, MMA IG, MMA Twitter, MMA TikTok, MMA MySpace, MMA Facebook, MMA YouTube, why are they all talking about me? The heavyweight champion, Tom Aspinall, who made this happen? Why is they still talking about me? Turn to your side and look at your homie that slumped in the gym with you when they rolled his body in to try to get a training session in. Ante Delija, because if it hadn't been for his reckless fingering, pause, we all might have left you alone. But now on this Monday, we got to go right back at you. Tom Aspinall, Waldo Cortes Acosta is now looking like the world champion that we all need and deserve. As for the rest of this card, there was a little bit of a betting scandal going on in one of the fights there. Looked a little sus, to say the least. It was Isaac Delgarian versus Yadir Del Valle. And so Valle was Not, I believe he was the underdog. Yes, he was the underdog going into this fight. Isaac Dalgarian, definitely touted to be a prospect, definitely in the UFC. Tremendous grappler, tremendous wrestler, all right on the feet. And very, very interesting. A lot of money started coming in on him the opposite way the day of the fight, maybe an hour or two before his fight. I mean, a lot of money, to the point where sports books began to pull the fight and were no longer accepting action on it, to the point where gambling apps and sports books were willing to refund money or action related to that fight. Okay, that's interesting. And what ends up occurring, if you saw the fight, DC described it as much. Isaac Dalgarian went out there, forgot how to wrestle, forgot how to fight the hands, forgot every aspect of grappling that he's shown us that he is definitely possesses, and looked like a pure amateur on the ground, and ends up getting tapped during this fight. And now there's a lot of rumors and circulation come around that he went into the fight with injury, that this was put out to the public, I don't know, accidentally or purposely. You know, purposely to the public, and a lot of action came in against Isaac. Smells like a James Krause, situation. Smells like this. There's a little Krausiness, little James Krausiness going on with this fight. Nevertheless, this is at the same time when the NBA is being heavily investigated for gambling shenanigans. Could be some shenanigans going on all across the board. DraftKings, holla at me. Prize Picks, holla at me. Underdog Fantasy, holla at me. Y'all might need to support a matter of fact MMA the way things is going for y'all, because the feds seem like they on their way. Nevertheless, man, there's not a whole lot else I really want to talk about on that card. I might double back on some things maybe tomorrow, we'll see, but I had to get in there and let you know that not all eye pokes are created equal. That's what a lot of the Tom Aspinall fans were saying, so I get that, but also not all heavyweight fighters are created equal, because some of them are a little bit tougher than Tom Aspinall, because Waldo Cortes Acosta, because I keep having difficulty saying his name, he built different. He finishes fights with a hard right hand, a kitchen sink of a right hand, just threw everything into it, knocks out the homie of Tom Aspinall, called out Tom Aspinall on the mic. And I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't mind if they skipped Cyril Gane and gave Waldo a chance at the World Championship. I know they won't. There's not a shot in a million years. But I would not mind them skipping Cyril Gane and locking Tom in the cage with Waldo Cortes Acosta. And let's have it out. A battle for who got the toughest eyes, the best vision in the heavyweight division. Championship on the line. Please like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think about my wild takes. Is it Matt? Is it fact? And once again, I do want to thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I'll check you next time. Peace.